All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out to the community zone. It means a lot. You guys are probably here to see Mike over me, so that's good. Me and Mike are on a panel this morning, so we got kind of warmed up. But I want to thank you guys all for coming out for the Con Expo Con Egg podcast. As Melissa mentioned, I am your host, Taylor White, and I get to do this bi-weekly for the past like 3 or 4 years now, and it's been a blast. So I guess a lot of you guys probably know who Mike is, but I mean, Mike, if somebody said, summarize what you do and make it sound, badass, because what you do is badass. Let's hear it.
That's a loaded question. How much time you got, Taylor? So I live in southern Indiana, been in the excavating business for almost 20 years now, which honestly makes me feel a bit old. Had a few different versions of it, but about 10 years ago, kind of really scaled back the business. Had this crazy idea to start a YouTube channel, not to really get rich or famous or any of those things. I just thought it'd be a cool hobby and a cool way to kind of document my life. And for some crazy reason, the YouTube world grabbed it, took off, and we've been kind of running ever since. And so all the locals know me as Simon's Concrete and Excavating, and everybody else in the world knows me as Dirt Perfect.
And he's kind of being humble because you have like 500,000 people that follow you on YouTube. Like that's a lot of people. That's like 25 of my hometowns that I grew up in. So that's amazing.
Yeah, every time my daughter makes fun of me, she's like, "Dad, that video only got 67,000 views." I'm like, "Do you realize that's how many people were also at the Super Bowl?"
What made you start doing this? I know I have it written down here. You started as a way to document your work and your life, and what made you start where you are, and what did it evolve into?
Yeah, so the first 10 to 15 years of the business, we actually had 3 different businesses. Excavating, we were building high-end homes, and also had a real estate development business. And I'm a guy that likes to be in the dirt. I like to be hands-on. I was managing a lot of stuff. The kids were getting older. I didn't have time to spend with them that I wanted to. I kind of made the decision in 2017. I'm like, you know what? Enough's enough. We shut down the construction business, sold off all the real estate, and I just went back to digging in the dirt. I'm like, I'm going to do what makes me happy. If the money comes, the money comes. If the money don't come, then I guess we're sleeping on the porch. I was just, and I think this can be applied to a lot of things. So many people chase salaries and they chase titles, and they end up down the wrong path. And I just finally decided I was going to do what I was passionate about, and that was digging in the dirt. And I got to be a busy person. I had a little bit of free time, or thought I did. I also had a neighbor that was doing pretty successful on YouTube at the time at Logger Wade. And he was kind of pushing me. He's like, "You'll be good at this. Give it a try." And I'm like, I justified it. And the main reason I did do it was to justify or to document my life. Not to go down a rabbit hole here, but unfortunately, I lost my father in an accident 20-something years ago. He was a heavy equipment operator, and we got a lot of still pictures and some photos of some cool projects he did, but no video, no documentation of anything. I thought, you know what, 30, 40 years from now, whenever I'm here or not here or whatever happens, we always got this library of stuff to go back and look at. And I've only been doing it 7 years, and it's still really cool to go back, see the equipment you had 7 years ago, relive the projects you did 7 years ago, and see the kids grow up and the videos they're in, see how much gray hair I got now over the last 7 years. But it's obviously evolved from that, but I still try to make it focused around that.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about your father as well too. I mean, that nobody wants to hear that, but it's you said something this morning that I thought was pretty. And someone actually mentioned to me after I mentioned we were on a panel this morning. You said the YouTube is your what you do, and you do the contracting just for content.
So that is, man, that's true. So how do we want to word this here and make it? So the main business, I still focus on excavating as the main business. If I'm on a job site, the customer is still the priority. The excavating business does still make money and pay bills. The crazy part is the social media world makes more money than the excavating business. So how do you balance that out, right? And I see a lot of YouTubers, I think you might be, or might know what I'm talking about here, not saying you're one of them by any stretch of the imagination, but you see these guys that start having success on YouTube, they quit their job and they go full-time into it. The channel changes, the dynamics change, and all of a sudden the YouTube starts cranking down. And I still enjoy YouTube. I didn't want it to be a job. So I kind of limited myself on how much time I put into it, how much effort I put into it. And I really try to keep it fun and I really try to keep it hobby focused. And it just continues to grow. It seems to work and it's what works for me.
What's your favorite thing that you get to film? Because I think my favorite thing that I've seen of you is you bought an old D8, right? Or D6? Yeah, D6. And it was like you're trying to get it running in the middle of the bush or whatever. Like that was pretty cool. What's your favorite thing to kind of film?
So honestly, you guys follow the channel, you know we do all kinds of stuff from pipe install to ponds and site work. But my favorite thing to film is probably the engineering projects we do in the shop, a lot of the fab work and stuff. I think it's cool to take a sheet of metal or take a no broken down tile plow and basically rebuild it with what we got available to us. And those videos seem to do really well. It's probably because it's kind of my passion as well. The dirt projects, they're fun to film, but you can only film a dump truck dumping dirt so many times. You know what I mean? You got to kind of speed that stuff up to keep it going. But and then as the kids get older and they get more involved in the business, it's obviously fun to have those guys involved with what we got going on.
You mentioned this morning about your content's your content, but people follow the person. So I want to ask you, why do you think that people follow you? What do you think makes you interesting?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think it's just being authentic, not trying to pretend to be something you're not. Try not to act like somebody you're not. Try not to, it's we all got an ego. We all want to be the big dog on the stage, right? And sometimes that person's hard to relate to. So just be who you are. We film in the platform of just come to work and hang out with us. We're not trying to teach you anything. We're not trying to cram anything down your throat. We may be showcasing a new piece of equipment, but it's not, it's just a life on the job site. Like, what is life like on the job site? Sometimes it's really good and you have some wins, and some days you drop a tree on the excavator and it costs you 20 grand.
You started, you mentioned different pieces of machinery. Like you started working with a bunch of brands as well too, and you showcase some machinery on site. Was that kind of cool, I guess, to start building? Like, what was your first thing when you started posting YouTube videos and it was like, you got that email or something that someone's like, oh wow, like they want to work with me and showcase their product. Like that's really cool.
So I got kind of a crazy story of how I got started with the brand thing. So I had like 7,000 subscribers. I'd been doing YouTube for like maybe 6 months, and went to another show put on by AEM called the Utility Expo, pretty close to our hometown. And Hyundai had a booth there, and they had this game called Excavator Soccer. And they had this guy out in the aisleway. He was a loudmouth on a microphone, and he was just begging for people to come in there to play. So I walked up to him with a camera, and I'm like, so what's this deal? And he was trying to explain to it. I said, I've never heard of an excavator, but I played soccer before. Let's give it a try. And he kind of gave me a funny look and walked in there, asked him what the fast time was. And he told me, I said, well, if I beat it by 3 seconds, can I get a free excavator? He's like, sure. He had no idea who I was. It was a little bit of luck involved, but I beat it by 4 seconds. And went after my free excavator, and that actually turned into my first demo. I didn't actually get to keep the excavator, but that's how I got started with Hyundai. Very thankful for them. They kind of took a chance on me whenever I was a nobody. And then seeing the work I did with Hyundai is what kind of opened the doors to the other manufacturers.
What's your favorite brands that you kind of get to work with nowadays? Like what are you looking for in the future? You're like, wow, that'd be really cool to be able to get to do this.
Yeah, so man, I've been so lucky to do so much, and you've worked with multiple different brands. You know how each one of them operates so different, and there's good things and bad things about any of them. A lot of it has to do with me, and I think this also goes if you're buying the equipment, is the relationships, because they all make good equipment, they all make bad equipment, but your relationship with the brand or the dealer is more important than anything. But what's important to me is it's got to be easy. Like the first brand deal, you're all in, you're going to make this great, you're going to put all this effort into it, and you realize that's a lot of work, and I don't know if I got time to manage that. And I think you could probably even speak to that a little bit. So building up these relationships with these different brands and just getting their trust and different things. And probably the funnest part is my relationship with Case is actually with the engineering department. So providing a lot of feedback, the new N-Series dozer that's here at the show now, there's a lot of things on that dozer that we had a lot of influence on, like the speed control and some layout of the cab and some visibility things. So it's kind of cool to see that over 3 years go from the drawing board to sitting on the showroom floor here.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool too is you got to probably think how. I mean, even myself too, like being able to get opportunities like hosting the ConExpo podcast or being at ConExpo and sitting on panels and talking. It's kind of pretty surreal. Like, what do you think being at the show this week, and how's it feel? Because you're a part of a lot of stuff this week.
Yeah, it's so it's definitely a different experience than coming here just as an attendee, but it's cool to be able to give back because I know there's a lot of people out there kind of curious about what we do, and more importantly, we need people in this industry, and this is a really cool industry. So anything we can do to promote the trades, promote the industry, let people know there are good jobs here, and that could be supporting a manufacturer, that could be supporting the show, that could be done in a lot of different ways, but these events are phenomenal. I mean, this is the largest trade show in North America. Absolutely incredible what's here. It don't matter if you're looking for technology, workforce stuff, the newest, the latest, and greatest. It's here somewhere. There's something for everybody here. I promise you that. It's just how fast can you find it?
Yeah, and you touched on a good point. You know, a lot of people talk about right now is it's really hard to find people, and we don't know kind of the direction. And you talk about AI coming in and all that stuff. I'd love to know, like, what do you think that our industry does wrong, to not promote it? I mean, and I want to talk. My opinion first is, I think it starts with the school. With education. I mean, I remember, like, basically, if you don't do the university academic classes, you do applied. Well, you're just going to be a dumb tradesman. And that's not the case. I know a lot of tradesmen that make a lot more than people, and I hire. I didn't go to college, university, and I hire people that went to college, university, and I think that it's just it's looked down upon, and I think we kind of need to change that. So that's my opinion.
No, you are absolutely spot on there, Taylor. I think it's a little bit of a generational thing. I'll tell you guys my age here. I graduated high school in 2000. And at that time, it was made very, very, very clear to me, if I wasn't going to further my education and go into the trades, I was doing that simply because I wasn't smart enough to do anything else. And I was one of the random, rare kids that I knew from about age 5 that I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to be self-employed. I was going to have my own business. I didn't know how I was going to be modeled, shaped, or what I was going to do, but that's what I was going to do, and nobody was going to tell me any different. And I had a very candid conversation with the principal at the school at the time whenever I was walking out the door. I said, listen, if you keep pushing this the way you're pushing it, you're still going to need somebody to build your bridge, build your house, fix your toilet, put tires on your car, and 20 years from now, that guy's going to be able to name his price. And that's exactly what's come around, and everybody's a little bit in a panic mode. And to your point, the reality of it is, one of the kids I graduated with is now the assistant principal at the high school. He followed that program and did all that. I was speaking at a career day the other day, and the reality of it is, my salary is 6 times what his is. There's good money here. There's jobs that you should not be ashamed of. I don't care if you're the trash guy. If that's what you're passionate about, be the damn trash guy and be the best trash guy you can be and go around and celebrate it. We get so stuck on titles, we get so stuck up on salaries that we lose our passion, our happiness, and the money will take care of itself. I promise you. But you're the schools, and I think a lot of the schools are finally seeing the value in the trades and the jobs that are here. And so many jobs you can go straight out of school straight into or get paid to get trained versus the other way around. I do believe we're turning the corner, but we got a lot of work to do yet.
Yeah, I always say it's like people aren't scared of hard work. You can make good money in the trades, and yeah, I just think that it's a shame. It's almost like back in the 60s and 70s when they wanted people to start going to university. It was just like a big marketing ploy, right? Where it's like, hey, you got to go to university, get your education, and get and do that. Do you have any education, any post-secondary?
So I was forced to go to 2 years of post-secondary school. I got a degree. It's a joke, applied science, diesel mechanic applied science. I don't even know what it is. I'm just being honest. And I also want to be clear. If your passion is to go to university or to a 2-year school, by all means, that's what you need to do. But if it's not your passion, don't go spend a whole bunch of money figuring it out. But the best education I ever got is after I graduated, I went to work at a Mack truck dealership. And through the events of September 11th, in 2 weeks, I went from being the night shift oil change mechanic to the second guy in charge of 70 guys in the shop. And I was very fortunate to get sent to a lot of the Mac trainings. I was very fortunate to have some good mentors there. And in that 2 years working at that dealership has taught me a lot of lessons that I still carry on today with what I do.
What do you think, people are in the audience right now or they're watching it after and, they're young and they want to get into the industry. I feel like the barrier to entry is it's kind of easy. You just have to work very hard. What path would you try to put somebody on that wants to either A, run their own business in the industry or B, just go work for somebody else and put their head down and make a good paycheck?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you need to figure out is which trade you want to be in, right? And if you can do that, experimenting or helping out other people instead of doing it on your own and invest in that, I think you're going to be best. But whether you go the trades route through one of the halls, which they have some awesome programs, or if you don't go that route, if you're willing to work and show up every day on time, somebody's going to give you a chance. There's a good chance somebody there will be a great mentor. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to interject yourself places you may not be comfortable. Ask why. Ask how. If you see a guy do something you can't do, whether it's with a piece of machinery or something like that, ask him what his technique is. Like, just treat the job site like a classroom, and you'll get something out of it. It's there. You just got to take it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of knowledge too. Like I know here at the show, there's a bunch of education sessions and stuff like that too. And there's people that are doing it and have done it. And I think like you said, reaching out and gathering a bunch of information for people is kind of really important for that too.
Yeah. So before I ever started my business, I worked at a tire shop. I was a mechanic at a bowling alley. Of all things, I worked in home decor at Lowe's. I know, don't judge. I worked in the paint department, and then I ended up being receiving manager at Lowe's, and then went to the dealership, and then eventually went out on my own. I did work at another construction company in between. But all those experiences have taught me something about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be successful at it.
If you had one topic or one thing to tell somebody that was starting, what would you tell them?
So my big thing is, if you're going to start in business, is don't get in over your head from the get-go. Some of my guys go out and buy all the new trucks and all the new equipment, and they got to have the latest and greatest of everything, and then they're chasing a payment instead of chasing profit. And you don't know as much research as you will do. Let's just say buying an excavator for an example. Until you actually put it on the job and start working, you don't know for sure if that's what you need. And so I just tell people to dip their toes in it. Give it a year or two. Go buy a nice used machine. There's good stuff out there. And then whenever you're ready to spend the big bucks, you will know exactly what you need. You know exactly how long it takes you to pay it off. And then you can grow and scale from there. But if you start off behind the 8 ball, it's so hard to get caught up.
And what about doing long form content to grow your business and not so much maybe do like a personal brand, but like, what do you think somebody should do as far as, going on social media and starting that?
So I encourage anybody that's interested in social media to give it a try. I fully understand it's not for everybody. And I think the long form content has kind of become the new version of reality TV, because we are legit reality TV and we're a lot more accessible than what some of those guys are. But some guys like the short term content too. But even if your stuff don't blow up and you don't get the brand deals and you don't get all this stuff, there's still a lot of benefits. There's jobs we go back on for a second and third time. We're like, where'd we put that at? Where's the tank at? Where's this at? We'll just go back and watch the video. Another example is you got a customer that wants a septic system in and you call it a Presby septic. What is that? Shoot them a video over. You can use it to educate your customers as much as you can anybody. And the long form content is a great advertising tool, even if it's just pinpointed towards one person.
What would you tell them about starting out and doing like short form content and going on Instagram and showcasing a job or showing photos and starting to do that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so exposure is king, right? So any way you can get exposure is great. And the one thing about some of these platforms, it's hard to control who sees it. So if you're trying to get business in your local market, you need to maybe choose the platform that's appropriate for that. Usually Facebook is best for that. But anytime you can get stuff out there, them short-term or short format videos, I use them as an educational tool too, because we get in our own little world and we do stuff a certain way. Then you get some guy across the country doing it a different way, and you're like, Why didn't I think of that? There's so many things. It might even not be the point of the video, but there's so many things you can pull out of that that are beneficial. But any exposure is usually good exposure. If you're a good reputable business and you want to showcase your work, you want to showcase your work. So why would you not? And social media is a great way to do that.
Do you ever find it hard because you kind of branded and labeled yourself as Dirt Perfect and your business is a different business name? And I was talking this morning on a panel and I was talking about how I struggle with because I did Ken White Construction, but now I have, a different business. I have other businesses that I've been, growing and buying. I want to showcase those. So it doesn't feel right to just show that on Ken White Construction. I'm not on site every day like I used to be because the business has kind of outgrown me doing that. And I struggle with that a lot. And so, we were talking about this morning, it's like personal versus business. Do you ever struggle with that? Or in your head, this is Dirt Perfect content and that's what I'm doing?
Yeah, no, the lines have definitely got blurred a little bit. The actual name of my business is Simon's Concrete and Excavating. We call it Simon C&E for short. And that's what all the locals pretty much know it as. I went off and branded it as Dirt Perfect because I thought this social media was basically going to be a completely separate business, and I didn't know how much they were going to go back and forth. The reality is, times went on, the customers think it's cool to get an invoice from Dirt Perfect now instead of Simon's Concrete and Excavating. They've kind of morphed together into one. But I think I was never doing social media to promote the business. It was more to just kind of as a fun thing, and that's why I wanted to keep it separate. There's not really been a struggle there, but I think your initial branding needs to have some thought into it for sure. Like what your end goal is. If your end goal is to promote your business and what you're doing, then that needs to be strongly in the business. It's Dirt Perfect. It's just kind of a generic name. It was supposed to be Dozer Dad, and I wanted it to be Dirtball TV, and the wife knocked that down, so it ended up being Dirt Perfect.
Yeah. How did you come up with Dirt Perfect? What's the reason there?
If you want to know the honest truth, people see me in the comments, I'm a bad speller. So it was Dozer Dad, and then it was Dirtball TV, and then I changed it to Dirt Perfect, and I spelt it wrong, and I changed it again. And YouTube will only let you change it 3 times in, is it 3 months? Well, by the time they allowed me to change it again, the channel already took off. So I was pretty much already locked in, but it's worked out great. For what I do, the generic name works out good. I didn't know who Dude Perfect was at the time, and I get a little bit of slack for that every once in a while. But no, it's worked out good. It's been a great kind of off brand of what's really going on. It does allow me to separate it in some aspects of some super local business versus what's going on out here. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about this morning on the panel of the why. I think that's the most important thing about social media. Like, why are you doing it, and what is your goal?
What is your why, and what is your goal?
Well, the why was to document the family and everything we got going on. The goal now is just to keep doing what we're doing because the reality of it is, you see in the comments, we're making a difference in people's lives. I had a guy stop us walking out of the panel. He's like, I can't thank you enough for helping me pivot in my life, do what we're doing. We see kids at these trade shows that had the courage to stand up for themselves and get into the trades and enjoying what they're doing. And I know it may be a small percentage of people who watch us, but I am proud of the trades. I am proud of being an operator. I'm proud of digging in the dirt, and I want to share it with people. And the why is kind of shifting to promoting the industry and helping people achieve their dreams.
What's the look ahead for your channel? Like, what have you ever thought? Like, oh, I'd love to do this big thing, or I'd love to do this, or like, do you plan ahead your videos? Do you have a schedule of like, hey, I want to do this month, that this month, or is it just kind of wing it and film it and upload it like the next day?
So the guys here that know me on YouTube, I'm kind of joked as being the history channel because my content's about 2 months behind. We do not film or script absolutely anything. We film what the job is that day, whether it's moving equipment, working in the shop, servicing something, putting in field tile, whatever the job is that day, that's what we film. Now, one thing I've done is to help manage the social media and the busy life and the long format content is my videos are approximately 2 months out. From the day they get filmed to the day they post, they're about 2 months out. But it allows me to post consistently every other day. So I may go a week without filming. I may go a week without editing.
Post every other day?
I post every other day.
So you film every single day of what you're doing.
I mean, there's whole weeks I don't film a thing, but then there's also a week I may film 7 videos. It helps me from getting burnout. And I also still do all the own editing. So like this time of year coming out of winter, we're about a month and a half behind, but we get in the middle of summer, got a bunch of stuff rolling. We'll be about 2 months behind again. And I always remind everybody, these TV shows that film, they're 6 months to a year behind. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good. But it's all about a time management thing. You got to be efficient in what you do. The more you film, the more you figure out how to be efficient at that. The more you edit, the more you figure out how to be efficient at that. Yeah, I got videos scheduled out for about the next 6 weeks.
And you mentioned team. I probably know the answer to this, but what does your team look like as far as social media, like uploading, filming, editing, doing all that?
So I got one guy that works for me full time. People know him on the channel as Man Behind the Scenes. He does help me on the job site doing some filming. I'll toss him a camera and he'll get a random shot. He's also some good commentary. But his main job is helping on the excavating business. So from there, I do all the editing. I do all the uploading. I got to give the wife a shout out. She will go in and put some tags in and maybe do a description or something like that and possibly help throw a thumbnail in. But then I'll come back in and do all the scheduling and making sure everything's in the right order and all that stuff. But no, it's probably 90% me and a little bit of help here and there with the other ones.
What makes a good title and what makes a good thumbnail?
I think that's an ever evolving thing. Back whenever I first started, you just scroll through the video and find the best pick and stick it on there. And then it got to, you had to up your game and get some words on there, get a little color, maybe get a question mark on there or something like that. And now we are in the generation of AI thumbnails and all that stuff. And you got to be kind of careful with that too, because it'll get a little dangerous. But, a lot of people argue back and forth, and curious on your opinion, what's more important, the title or the thumbnail? The title is what gets searched, but the thumbnail is what gets seen, right? And honestly, I don't even know the answer to that. I go back and forth on both. The picture will make you click, but people see the notification on their phone. They don't see the thumbnail; they see the title.
Do you ever do the testing like thumbnail A and thumbnail B to see how they both perform?
I have done that a few times, and I've got the same result on both. And then you go back and change it in, and I feel like you just confuse the people. So, because I think I got a lot of comments of deja vu. I feel like they've watched the same video twice, because it is the same video with a different title and thumbnail, right? I think it's a good tool, but I don't know if I have got full faith in it yet.
What do your kids think about you being a YouTube star?
My youngest, my son, he's kind of starting to become a character on the channel, and he enjoys it. My daughter is absolutely 100% embarrassed by it. She no interest whatsoever, and trying to get her come around a little bit. Of course, she's almost 16 years old, and I remind her that I got a lot more views than her and her little friends, and rub it in a little bit. But yeah, it's weird because around home I'm just Mike, right? And then we go out somewhere and you start getting stopped in the airport and taking pictures or doing meet and greet and stuff. And they're looking at you like you got 3 heads, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. What other events and stuff are you doing at the show this week that you've been on? I mean, we were on a panel this morning, but I know you've been busy running around everywhere.
Yeah. So we did some stuff over at the Volvo booth. Did a little meet and greet with another big YouTuber, Chris Let's Dig 18, and Ryan Mr. Dig. It's one thing cool about YouTube is just being able to network. The YouTube does a great job of lining up like-minded people. But I did some stuff over there, been involved with Hyundai. They had the operator challenge, win $1,000 over there. Me and Ryan competed just to kind of kick that off. That was pretty cool. And then did some stuff with Case, releasing the new dozer, which I was super excited about. Kind of been working on that a little bit behind the scenes. So it's kind of cool to see that actually out in the public, and I don't have to worry about slipping up and saying something about it on a video. And then we helped Hyundai release their next generation of excavators, which was pretty neat. And we got one meet and greet left with the Demco guys at 1 o'clock on Thursday. But yeah, schedule's been pretty wild, but hopefully we get a little time to walk the show here before it's over with.
Do those brands that you mentioned like Hyundai, Case, and all them, like one thing that pops in my head is like, do they ever say like, why are you working with this other brand? Just work with us?
This is why I wear a generic hat, so I don't show up at the wrong place with the wrong hat on. No, I'm pretty open, honest with them. Obviously, I don't share trade secrets from one brand to the other, but I don't try to hide that I'm working with one to the other. And, like Case versus Volvo, for an example, Volvo don't have dozers, so that really don't affect a whole lot. And they keep asking me to come back, so I keep coming back, and each one's usually a different little unique project, and they all kind of operate a little bit different. So it's kind of cool just to see the behind the scenes of each one a little bit, and they've all been awesome.
What was your most viewed video ever?
That is a great question, and I believe
How many views?
I think it's about 2.4 million, and I think it's busting a beaver dam.
2.4 billion with a B?
No, million.
Oh.
How'd you worry there for a second? Then I
Busting a beaver dam open. How long ago was that?
think it was 2 years ago. I think that was the first. We got several over a million. I think that one's at the top.
Like when you see something blow up like that, do you ever try to like go and be like, okay, like where's another beaver dam that I could go and try to blow up?
No, there was one guy on YouTube we used to make fun of. He had a tractor that got stuck in a ditch, and the video just blew up pulling this thing out. Like the next 20 videos was something stuck in the same ditch. So my theory is on that is whenever we get a good video that pops like that, is just trying really hard to have good, consistent content afterwards, because you just want to keep those people coming back, right? You don't want to burn them out on something. And YouTube's a roller coaster. You're way going. You get a video or two, it pops, and things are really clicking along. And then you'll go through a dry spell where everything's just kind of so-so. And that's where those loyal followers really come into play, keeping those views up. And then you'll have another video that takes off. And the crazy part is, I bet you out of half of my videos that have really taken off, I probably considered not posting because I didn't think they were that great of videos. And the videos you think that are absolutely awesome and you can't wait for everybody to see, you just lay there flat. So it's just one of those, you just keep posting and keep doing your thing. And of course you tweak descriptions, titles, thumbnails, and stuff like that, or maybe kind of up your game on audio or some camera angles or stuff. But we keep it pretty straightforward.
Do you ever try, and it probably doesn't come into your mind at all, but, when you're making a YouTube video and you're somebody like, let's say, Mr. Beast, right? You're, what's going to make the most amount of money on this video? And obviously the longer people watch, the more family friendly it is. Advertisers were like that. Do you ever try to get that into your head of like, okay, like how can I get my CPM higher on this? Or
no, not necessarily. So yes and no, I guess, to answer your question honestly. There's just a few things that are kind of forbidden to talk about on YouTube, politics being one, religion, guns. And then one decision I made from the very get-go was being family friendly. And I think that's a big one. It's very, very complicated. I'm not for sure I understand it, but the way YouTube pays is kind of weird. So you could get 100,000 views and make $1,000. I could get 100,000 views and make $10,000. And YouTube kind of puts you in categories based on what the sponsor or what the advertiser is willing to pay. So I just really try hard to keep my nose clean on all those boxes, and try really hard to keep it all family friendly, keep the profanity out of it, the cuss words or any jokes that are inappropriate. There's some stuff, it's a job site. There's some stuff that sneaks in there every once in a while, and just kind of play the game. But that's also how we operate. So it's not a real far stretch to do that. And the YouTube, going back to YouTube again, I get this question a lot. So that may be the scenario in January. You get to December, it may flop because somebody else is pumping money into YouTube. Like right now, if you post a construction video, your CPM is probably going to be up because of the show and going into spring and everybody buying equipment and doing all this stuff. But going into fall, that stuff starts falling off. So I just try to stay consistent with it, ride the train, and it's been good. Like to your point, Mr. Beats, I think Cletus McFarland does the same thing. Their videos are a lot based around what's going to pay and what thumbnail it will be. Like they produce a video for that. And we don't operate that way. We kind of film what we're doing that day and then kind of morph it into, I think one big mistake you can make is lie on a thumbnail or lie on a title. So it's got to be in there. And YouTube AI has got pretty good at catching up with guys on that.
do you remember your first big YouTube break, your first, and like getting that first YouTube payment where you're like, holy shit, I'm making some good money on this thing?
Yeah. So the very first check I got was actually pretty substantial. And I was like, holy shit.
What'd you buy?
I think I bought a new attachment for one of the skid steers or something. To this day, most of that money still goes invested back in equipment and stuff. I got to stop buying that stuff. But Yeah, man, I was one of the fortunate ones. The money's been really good from day one, and it's just continued to climb. And I hate it for guys like my neighbor Logger Wade. He was having the views and having the success, but he never could make the money to justify it. And he focused more back on his business, which I completely get. Which I think again goes back to the why of what you're doing. He wasn't enjoying it no more. He wasn't making the money, so he pulled the plug on it. I will say, coming to these shows and meeting these people that follow you and tell you how much they appreciate the content or whether they watch it for entertainment, educational purposes, no matter what they watch it, is a big motivation to keep going. Because whenever we're standing there on the job site by ourselves with a camera, unfortunately, we can't see them. But it's a good reality check coming out here and interacting with all these people, and kind of gives you a fresh breath of fresh air to go do it again.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, yeah, you kind of summarized it well, and like seeing all the people come out today, looking at the podcast and coming to watch us, I think that's coming to watch you is pretty incredible. So I want to give Mike a round of applause, everybody. Thank you for coming on the podcast today, sharing all your info. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.